Going on YouTube, JohnMatrix here. So, I guess the embargoes and all that stuff have lifted for Assassin's Creed Mirage. I know some streamers currently have early access keys and are streaming and playing the game. And I see IGN here has put out their review video of the game. So I kind of want to check it out and just go over it, see what the game looks like, and talk about it. Because I'm a fan of the Assassin's Creed series in general. Some of the games I think are really good, and some of the games were not so good, like I've said before in a previous video. And I really enjoyed the first Assassin's Creed game with Altair. I wish they explored Altair as a character more, but they kind of jumped from him straight to Ezio. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why I didn't care for Ezio quite so much, because I really wanted to explore Altair a little bit more. But yeah. Enjoy the first Assassin's Creed. I didn't really care for the Assassin's Creed with Ezio. I really liked Black Flag. I thought that was one of the better ones, even though it was kind of more of a pirate game really than it was an Assassin's Creed game. And then I really liked Odyssey. Odyssey was a really good game, and then Valhalla I really didn't care for Valhalla at all. They went back a bunch of steps on Valhalla. I felt like they really kind of dumbed that game down, and they just threw a lot of story in there to try to make the game as long as possible, so you'll play it as more, and started adding on the microtransactions to a single player game. It's like, whatever, dude. Anyway, enough with that. Let's just get on here and I guess check out this IGN review of the video here.
During the same year the first iPhone was released and Prince played Purple Rain at a halftime show where it literally rained, another bit of culture was changed forever. The first Assassin's Creed was released.
Why that gotta make me feel old, man? Well, I feel old every day already. Why that mean? The first time Assassin's Creed was released was the same time iPhone 1 was released, 25 years ago. God, you're old. You're an old person. Why are you even alive? Go get your walker.
Released. Not everyone loved Ubisoft's approach to stealth and action, but it was widely agreed that this game was onto something. In the 15+ years since, its many sequels traded stealth for something far bigger and flashier, but lost sight of the very spirit of how it began.
Yeah, like, as the games progressed, a lot of them try to incorporate, Souls-like and other RPG elements. Like, they tried to make it kind of more of like a Souls-like game, an open-world Souls-like game. And I don't know, like, Odyssey I thought did it pretty well. What was the Origins, the Egyptian one? I thought that one did it okay as well. Those two I thought were pretty good. But Valhalla really, like I said, I thought Valhalla took like a lot of steps backwards. The AI was dumb, the combat was watered down. The story was way too long and had way too much filler for what it was. I don't know. I just didn't really care for Valhalla, so.
And Assassin's Creed Mirage takes a lot of important, imperfect steps to get back to its roots. It's not the most ambitious of games, but it
this one's supposed to be going back towards more of the first Assassin's Creed game.
Seen in almost a decade.
More stealth focused combat, more, having to really plan out, what you want to do and how to get to the target instead of just going gung-ho, going in and fighting and killing everyone like, a normal RPG or whatever, and actually having to be an assassin.
Stealth is king again in Mirage. Ubisoft has done away with XP and levels entirely, meaning every enemy is just a hidden blade away from doom if you play your cards right.
That's fine.
It's refreshing to approach a scenario and weigh options for tackling it based on its many moving parts, rather than simply considering if the loot is worth it.
If he gets in my way again, I will kill him myself.
Early on especially, the threat of fighting multiple enemies at once is so daunting that using sharp timing in the environment is a necessity. Even more than in the pre-Origins games, it's important to make vigorous use of precariously hanging dock supplies.
Okay, yeah, you gotta use the environment properly. That's good.
Chaos to cover your moves. Our character for this relatively short Assassin's Creed adventure is Basim, Eivor's mysterious frenemy from Valhalla. He's fine. But after over 20 hours spent learning the leading man's history, it hasn't really made him more interesting most of the time. His origins as a plucky cut-purse with a heart of gold turned vengeful assassin feels like the most fast-forwarded Hidden One story in the series.
It is no inconvenience to stand up to our oppressors as the Hidden Ones do.
Before the blood from his slain friends dries, he's trust-falling into haystacks and chopping his own finger off.
Yep.
By the end, it's still a mystery how this guy became the scheming triple-crosser we met years ago. That said, Basim's story is far shorter and more linear than
Probably because they plan on doing more than one game with him, so they're just fleshing out what they can now, and you'll get more of it later, because that's Ubisoft. They're going to try to get as much out of it as possible.
those of the recent Witcher 3 inspired games, and the adventure is better for it.
These are not strong leads, but they are a start nonetheless.
Your main tasks start on the investigation board, a web of leads and clues that all point towards the main targets. Solving smaller issues often leads you to bigger reveals, which in turn take you further and further up the chain until you get to take another stab at the big conspiracy that's causing all this commotion. Admittedly, the board makes things feel more open-ended than they truly are, but breaking the stories into little chunks that keep expectations clear and concise does wonders for the pacing of a game like this.
Of course, when he
I wonder how much of the city you're actually able to explore.
came to us,
Kind of
he
a
was
bad
little
shot to
more than a
pause on,
common
but
thief, scrambling to survive on the streets of Baghdad.
Though it is more focused, Basim's quest is pretty lackluster in relation to the other games in the series when it comes to surprises and twists.
I mean, the character animations and movement still seem a little stiff here too.
In relation to the other games in this quest is pretty lackluster in relation
Like you look
to
at
the
him
other
moving
games
or
in the
whatever,
series
that just
when it
it
comes
seems
to
very
surprises and twists.
almost AI generated, I guess. I don't know.
Soon. I do not know what.
Save for maybe the final 4 or so hours.
The facial animations are always tough in games, especially. I don't know how much they mocapped of
His
this.
hunt to track down members of the villainous Order of the Ancients is rather basic and predictable. Each of them and their flunkies are staunchly, almost cartoonishly evil without any nuance.
I mean, that's kind of how all these Assassin's Creed games are, really. All these Assassin's Creed games are about some kind of ancient evil organization that's trying to take over the world. You know, it used to be all about the Templars versus Assassins, and they've kind of gotten away from that, and they're just kind of doing whatever now.
And are a disappointing reminder that we haven't had another big bad as complex as Haytham Kinway or as cackling mad as Rodrigo Borgia in years.
Yeah.
With the exception of Basim's own master Roshan, brought to life expertly by Shohreh Aghdashl's
Roshan?
distinctively smoky voice,
Your day to display your prowess will come, but this day belongs to Basim.
She
The
has,
supporting
like,
cast of
probably
Mirage
one of
is
the
no
most
more than
unique
adequate,
voices,
both as
like,
characters
there
and
is.
in their
Like,
performances.
Seek
you
me
know
out when
who's
your
voice
begins
acting
to
the
break.
character when
Then we
she's
will
doing it.
Among the best characters, though, is the city of Baghdad.
I mean, it looks pretty, like, the Assassin's Creed games always look pretty. Like, the worlds always look very well done. You gotta give them that.
The different districts, from the dense, bustling heart and the round city to the dusty slums and Karkh, feel busy and lived in a way that hasn't been present in the series in a while. It's full of busy streets, full of people to blend in.
I don't know, I thought even Valhalla's, you know, towns seemed fine. There seemed like plenty of AI, you know, generated characters walking around and filling the streets. It never really felt empty to me.
With, and city blocks with open homes you can sprint through while eluding pursuers. Things you'll be doing a lot thanks to Mirage's notoriety system. It's a throwback to the Ezio days that scales up the efforts to take you down based on how many beehives you're kicking around town.
Hey, you! Pause a moment.
It gets very tough to escape guards' lines of sight simply by running. If you can't hide, removing wanted posters and paying off town criers can help
And
to
yeah,
clear your name.
they're literally going back to
That said,
how
there
the
are
game
no
was back
singular
in the
moments
day,
or landscapes
which is
in Mirage
fine.
that really make a big impression, like the Great Pyramids in Origins or Athena's statue in Odyssey. On the
Right.
whole, though, the golden, rolling dunes and tropical oases are beautiful, and the city and its suburbs have plenty of alleys and nooks to explore if collectible hunting is your thing. Ubisoft's renewed focus on a smaller region
Collectibles.
has allowed it to flesh out more of the details, and that's a win.
I mean, again, I always thought their environments were fine in the other games.
Another thing that really shines in Mirage is your set of tools, especially when you upgrade them to increase effect ranges or have dramatic additional effects.
Okay, so that's how, like, the upgrade stuff works in this, is you can upgrade and craft your weapons to be better, to give you better range or more damage, or, you know, make less noise or whatever.
This one dissolves the bodies of anyone you kill with a throwing knife, destroying all evidence of the deed. Realistic.
I feel like that's a little cheap. Because things like that make stealth mechanics too easy in games, in my opinion. Like, there needs to be some kind of challenge to stealth. Like, that's one of the biggest problems that a lot of stealth games have, is that usually the stealth becomes too powerful. Like, if there's a stealth option in the game, usually the stealth becomes too strong, and you're able to just walk around and just one-shot people. And then as long as you dump the bodies and they don't get spotted, it's fine. You can get away with doing whatever. So if they're adding a tool, not just a tool, but it's a throwing knife that can one-shot people, and then it disposes the body automatically, I feel like that's a little too OP.
No, but
it needs to be some kind of challenge.
Bosim also has a special stealth kill combo ability that functions
which has
almost
been
like
in
Deadeye
every
Red Dead
Assassin's Creed
Redemption.
game just about.
It's powerful, but balanced by the need to charge a special meter by performing quiet kills the old-fashioned way, and that it can only be activated when you're anonymous. The locations you infiltrate here aren't exactly better or more interesting than we've seen in recent years, though. If you've slunk through one hardened location in an Assassin's Creed game, you'll be well equipped for the sorts of hallways, underground docks, and fortified walls you'll need to tackle.
But like, let me go back here, dude. Like, he's literally like 5-7 feet away from these guys, and they're not gonna notice him just crawling through here, dude.
Location in an Assassin's
Like, how does he, out of the corner of his eye, not see this guy back here?
Creed game, you'll be well equipped for the sorts of hallways,
I don't know, man.
underground docks.
That's one of the biggest concerns that I have with, like, pretty much any Assassin's Creed game moving forward is the AI. Like, how smart is the AI going to be? How well are they going to be able to find you? You know, how quickly are they going to give up after, you know, they've been alerted? How aggressive are they going to be? How smart are they going to be when fighting? Is it going to be a situation where the AI just comes at you one at a time and everyone around them just kind of sits there and waits for their turn to attack? Or are they going to be aggressive and you're actually going to have to use strategy to, you know, evade and get out of fights?
And fortified walls you'll need to tackle here. Guards are still pretty easy to manipulate and lack basic self-preservation skills when spotting any uncovered corpses.
Look at that. It's like, oh my god, what happened? Jim died, he blew up. Oh my god, let me go over here and investigate and see what happened. And instead of, like, I don't know, instead of setting off an alarm or looking for where the projectile that blew it up could have had, I don't know, man. You know what I'm saying? It's just like
that there are some new and returning ways to sneak into and
the AI is
bribing a merchant
in a lot of these
games
you're just dumb,
delivering goods
and
is a great way to saunter through a gate you wouldn't.
It makes it too easy, in my opinion. Which, if you enjoy that, that's fine. You know, to each his own. It just might not be a game for me.
In a later section, many different parties are congregating in the courtyard of a wealthy target's manor, and helping a group of indentured people riot against their captor can cause enough of a commotion to lure the big man into a trap. That sort of approach makes the world feel more alive and real, and takes cues from fellow.
This sword, like the way it's glowing, like it almost looks like it's like Sting, you know, from Lord of the Rings. Like, I'm waiting for orcs to be around here, dude. Like, I don't know. It looks like it's some kind of special sword.
When you have no choice but to openly scrap, combat is more limited than it's been in recent games.
So yeah, this is what I want to talk. I want to see more, and I'm already kind of.
When you have no choice
going into what I'm talking about with the AI. See, like,
combat is more limited than it's been in recent games, but still challenging.
See, he's sitting there, killing this guy here. There's two guys on him. This dude in the background is just walking around looking while he's fighting this guy. He kills him, and then he just doesn't. He still just doesn't do anything. He just sits there.
Challenging.
See, and then he gets killed, and it's like. That to me is just like the AI is dumb and the fighting becomes unchallenging. The challenge and this is the problem I have with Valhalla. The challenge in Valhalla becomes like what level you are compared to the enemy's level, and basically if they were higher level than you, they would just one-shot you and you do like no damage to them. So you would have to just sit there and kind of run around and do whatever you could to kill them, you know, or the opposite would happen. And the AI just isn't very smart, and the fighting just isn't very fluid and intelligent, and it doesn't feel very good. And it seems like that's the
Boston
same
only
way
has
in
one
this.
style, using a sword
Again,
and dagger to become a spinning dervish of death by weaving
like
quick and
one
heavy strikes
person at a
together for
time is
short
attacking
combos.
him.
You can switch between many types of swords and daggers, each having unique combat abilities you can mix and match, but the differences between them is rarely so impactful that they'd make you want to change up your playstyle around them. However, it's easy to see a scenario where some fully upgraded weapons and armor sets could be more vital at a higher difficulty than the standard one. The pace of combat is jarringly slower and more deliberate than we've become accustomed to, especially coming from Valhalla's bevy of weapon types and special attacks. But
It seems
Mirage
like
certainly has
the
its
bigger
charms.
brutes are the only
There's
ones
heavy
that are like
emphasis
a
on
little more
counters and
aggressive or
dodging.
whatever. And again, it doesn't necessarily seem like it depending because of like the equipment, but it's possible that some of the stuff they're showing is earlier on. So, you know, the AI isn't as the AI is set at a lower difficulty, I guess, for the areas that we're at. And, you know, maybe as we're progressing through the game, you know, the AI is going to get, you know, more aggressive and, you know, harder to beat. But most of the time in games like this, it's just, you know, they can one-shot you, but, you know, you have to sit there and block and dodge and roll and, you know, do things like that to make it a challenge. But if you mess up or get overwhelmed, you're just going to die because they one-shot you.
Incoming attacks, enforced by the sometimes erratic
And that
attack
to me
patterns
just
from
isn't
enemies
fun.
mixed with the high damage they do in melee. Attackers don't wait for their friends to be cut down before taking their turn to come at you, so you often need to avoid multiple swings at once.
I feel like that's not the
And
truth,
engaging
because we've
more
already
than 2 or
seen
3
that
guards at a
be
time
not the
can
case.
be oppressive. There are very few enemy types, but the saving grace is that regular and heavy soldiers can vary slightly based on the weapons they have. You always have to be aware and adjust accordingly, and I never found myself wanting for new challenges. For as much of Mirage's design feels like a callback to old eras of the series, combat feels like the biggest change that's unique to this game, and it works very well. Another thing that's been scaled back and focused is Mirage's ability tree.
Yeah, the
The
skill
3
trees.
branches are focused on killing, scouting, and gadgets, but they only have 7 skills apiece to unlock, but each one has a much more dramatic impact on how you'll want to play. Some simply help you do the things you can already do, but better. Some feel like features that existed by
Which is
default
fine.
in older games, but they're all worth the skill point they cost. And there's no commitment since you can respec all of these points at any time for free. You're only
I feel like that's starting to become a thing in games that's kind of ruining games in some ways. Like, I get, in some instances is good, being able to just, like, respec and, like, allowing you to try different things and different points. But at the same time, that also kind of removes replayability from games because everyone's just going to find, like, what is optimal. They're going to put the guides out on YouTube. People are going to look it up and then just, like, you know, there you go. Some people will not, you know, and some people will just want to discover things on their own, but that's a small percentage. And I mean, if that's what people want to do, that's fine. But for me personally, like, I don't know, the idea of your decisions and how you want to upgrade your character, having a more permanent, you know, being more permanent and mattering more to what you're doing in a game. I don't know. I just feel like that adds more to the game and adds more depth to the game instead of, well, you know, I tried this, I didn't like it, let me try something else. And again, there's plus and minuses to that. I mean, I kind of like more of maybe the in-between area that some of the Dark Souls games do, where it's like, you have to have a specific item to take somewhere to respec, and you only get, like, so many of those a playthrough. You only get, like, 2 or 3 a playthrough. And then once you use them up, that's it. You got to go to NG Plus or start a new character. I feel like that kind of in the middle is where most games should be, instead of just you can willy-nilly, you know, respec your stuff whenever you want to. And there's no, like, cost or downside to it.
only ever a couple of minutes away from a new character build. Assassin's Creed Mirage's return to the stealthy style that launched this series doesn't do everything right, but everything it does feels like it was done with purpose. This means a shorter game with a smaller map, fewer collectibles, smaller scope in combat, and a limited selection of gear to play with.
And I mean, that's fine. Having a smaller, you know, area to play in, not so open world, a more condensed, focused story, that's not necessarily a bad thing, you know? We don't necessarily need games that are hundreds of hours long. Sometimes a nice, you know, 10, 15, 20-hour story is all you really need, as long as it's focused and fleshed out properly. You know, that's, I mean, that's fine.
All of which is refreshing relative to the arguably bloated scale of 100-hour games like Odyssey and Valhalla.
Right.
It also means an overly simplistic plot with mostly forgettable characters. But what the story lacks in depth, it makes up for with its straightforward quest progression and fast pacing. Though there's no big standout wow moment, Baghdad is a beautiful location in its own right, and the world's detail is focused
I'm sure it's
inward,
probably going to look
making every
mostly
alley
like the
and
first
hovel
one.
feel well-traveled and full of detail and history. It's easy to recommend Mirage to anyone who's lapsed on Assassin's Creed, as its back-to-basics approach is a successful first step in returning the feeling
Well,
that
they're
the
giving it an
earlier
8 out of 10.
industry-defining games gave us so long ago. For more, check out our reviews.
Okay. Well, there you guys have it. Assassin's Creed Mirage. IGN gives it an 8 out of 10. I don't know. I don't really go by a lot of places' reviews and the scores they give, just because there's, like, you look at Cyberpunk. A lot of these things, you know, a lot of these review places, IGN, etc., you know, they gave Cyberpunk, you know, high praise on its release, and it was one of the worst, you know, release launch games ever. It's much better now, especially with the 2.0 update, but can't deny that it had a bad release. And so it's like, I don't know, can you really go by what a lot of these places say with their scores? But I hope it's a good game. I always hope these games are good games. We always want, you know, good games as opposed to bad games. But like I said, it just looks like it's going back more to Assassin's Creed 1, which to me isn't a bad thing. I really liked the first Assassin's Creed game. I hope it's a good game. I will probably try it eventually. I will probably end up waiting for a while before it goes on like a Steam sale or something and picking up. There's too many other games that I'm going through right now. You know, I'm going through my Cyberpunk playthrough right now. Lords of the Fallen's coming out next week. Once all that calms down, I plan on getting Baldur's Gate 3 and playing through that. I've also still got Demon Souls, the Demon Souls remake on the PS5 to play through. I've got so many games that I've got lined up right now that this is just gonna end up going on my back burner, because while I'm interested to see what it's like and to try it, it's Assassin's Creed. If you've played Assassin's Creed before, if you played one Assassin's Creed game, you've kind of played most of the Assassin's Creed games. You know, if you played Origin, Odyssey, or Valhalla, you've played any of those. There's not really a ton of difference, you know, other than, like I said, with some of the AI and the story. So I hope it's good. I hope people really like it, because you know, I always want good games. And yeah, I just hope it turns out to be good. So I hope the callback to the original and the more stealthy gameplay is something that people enjoy, and it does well, because who doesn't want a good game? But anyway, so that's the review. Let me guys know what you think. Are you gonna check it out? Are you gonna check out the game? Are you know, looking forward to it going back to more of its stealth roots? Or do you prefer the more, you know, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Valhalla, Origin style, you know, the more RPG, more combat oriented, less stealth oriented gameplay? Yeah, let me know down in the comments what you guys think. But if you're still watching the video here till the end, I appreciate it. It does help me out. If you liked the reaction here to this video, my commentary breakdown, whatever you want to call it, consider leaving a like and a sub, as it does help me and helps the channel grow. So I appreciate you guys. Appreciate all the support on the channel. I've had a lot of support lately, and thank you very much for hanging out and watching. Hope you're having a wonderful day wherever you are, whenever you're watching this, and I will see you guys on the next one. Have a good one.